Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be learning about the rock cycle. So, in the last class we talked about the three different types of rocks. If you remember what those types of rocks are, they are sedimentary, metamorphic, and igneous. Okay, so the rock cycle is this big process. It's a system of processes that are going to change one rock into another. So we're going to start off with sedimentary rocks, mostly because sedimentary rocks have the most steps to create those. Okay, so you're going to pull up these notes right here and fill in as I start talking. Okay, this is going to be a brief overview. I'll go more in depth with it as the notes go on. So first thing, what's going to happen is that you've got these rocks. So if you see right up here, let's pretend it's a mountain, okay? So what's going to happen is that the wind and the rain and these animals and human activity are going to weather these rocks. Weathering means break down. So they're just going to continue to break down these rocks and make them into smaller and smaller pieces. And these smaller and smaller pieces are called sediment, all right? And as they are weathered and broken down, they're going to travel to a new place. So when we weather, this is our hand motion for weathering, rocks are weathered, and then they're going to travel down the road of erosion. So erosion means simply that they're transported from one place to another. And erosion happens with wind, water, rain, human activity, animal activity, anything like that. It's just traveling from one place to another. Then after they've traveled to a new place, they are set down. So they're laid down, and that's called deposition. Deposition happens just like wherever the river or wherever the rain is going to wash the sediment away, it's going to stay there. That's deposition. Then we have two processes called compaction and cementation. Compaction, cementation. So we've got weathering. They travel down the road of erosion where they're deposited with deposition, and they are compacted. So compaction is going to be where we have the bottom layers are going to get pressed together by the weight of all of the other sediment that is on top of it. And finally, we have cementation. So cementation is where the minerals in the sediment or the broken down rocks are going to crystallize and cement these layers together. Okay, that's why we have layers. That's why they are not always breaking off. Yes, they're easier to break off, but ultimately they still stick together. Limestone, like we talked about, is not going to break apart super easy. It's not like we're just cutting through dirt. That's because all of the minerals have cemented together to create a very sturdy structure. So this process leads to a rock known as sedimentary rocks. Now, sedimentary rocks can go either way. They can be pushed down into the magma and melted into igneous rocks, or it can experience heat and pressure. Now, before we get to heat and pressure, this number 3 right here, this is uplift. So uplift happens when the earth is starting, the plates in the earth start to move rocks up higher and higher, okay? So uplift is literally bringing rocks from lower to higher elevations. This is also how mountains are formed. So going back to sedimentary rocks, when sedimentary rocks or any type of rock experiences this intense heat and pressure, it is going to transform into a metamorphic rock. Now, something that's really important about metamorphic rocks is that metamorphic rocks do not melt. Okay, so think of it as like that nasty Tootsie Roll that has been in your pocket for the last, 7 months. It hasn't really melted. It's not like a Hershey's Kiss, but it's all deformed, and you kind of have like the paper that's stuck in it. It's really gross, but you're still, I'm going to be honest, I probably would still eat it. It's fine. But it's all of this heat and pressure, and it's going to transform the parent rock into this new metamorphic rock. Okay. Now, let's say that these rocks do experience some heating, like they experience even more heating and they start to melt. So when they start to melt, they're going to turn into magma. And if that magma gets trapped under the Earth's surface, what does it become? Well, it becomes an intrusive igneous rock, meaning that the rock has cooled from magma into a new rock, which is intrusive. So remember, intrusive means inside the earth. It takes long time for these rocks to form because it's like trying to cool your chicken nuggets in the oven that's on. It's hard. It takes a long time, okay? This really hot substance is trying to cool down in a really hot environment. Now, let's pretend that they didn't get stuck, okay? It didn't get stuck in the oven. Instead, it's going to experience a volcanic eruption. And this volcanic eruption pushes the magma up through the volcano, and it explodes onto Earth's surface where we create extrusive igneous rocks. And extrusive igneous rocks cool very quickly, and they are going to have those small crystals like obsidian, okay? All right, so that is, I want you to make sure that you study this this section because it's on your test, okay? So make sure that you're looking at where these arrows are and what creates what rock. Moving on, what is the rock cycle? So the rock cycle is, as I said, is a set of processes that transform one type of rock into a new type of rock, okay? So all of these rocks can get transformed into either sedimentary, metamorphic, or igneous rocks, all right? Your metamorphic rock could turn into a sedimentary, your sedimentary can turn into igneous. It just depends on what path it's going to take. Now, the things that are going to control control the rock cycle are the forces on Earth's surface and below. So those things include erosion, remember that's taking the sediment down to a new place. Weathering, which is the breakdown of rocks. Tectonic plates. So tectonic plates, when they start moving, they're going to create lots of pressure. They also can split and show, that's where magma can be seen. And also where volcanic eruptions happen when they start pushing together. And then heat and pressure just underneath the Earth's surface, which are going to create metamorphic rocks, okay? Now, again, sedimentary rocks are made out of layers. This is just a review over your different types of rocks. They're made out of layers, and they go through what's called lithification. And lithification is that whole process we just talked about, where the rocks are weathered, they're eroded, the sediment is depositioned. The sediment is deposited into a new area. The layers are compacted together and then cemented by the minerals, okay? And the really important thing about sedimentary rocks is that's where fossils are found, okay? Fossils are really only found in sedimentary rocks because they don't experience these really intense heat and pressure or even melting like igneous and metamorphic. Metamorphic rocks have to have a parent rock. What that means is that this rock, there has to be one rock and it has to experience heat and pressure to create a new rock. So just like you have to have a parent to create you, metamorphic rocks have to have a parent rock. So they are transforming. If you look at the word metamorphic, it looks like metamorphosis. All right. So that means it's changing. All right. And metamorphic rocks are created when this parent rock is exposed to heat and pressure, but not melted. If it's melted, that's when we get igneous rocks. And now remember, there are two types of igneous rocks, intrusive and extrusive. Intrusive is when molten rock cools below the surface. And then extrusive is when the molten rock or lava cools on Earth's surface. On your notes, you'll see different types of rocks. We've got limestone, which is a sedimentary rock, basalt, which is a igneous rock, and marble, which is metamorphic. All right, I'm going to just go through these. So how are sedimentary rocks formed? This is a little bit more in depth. So the first things first, rocks are broken down into sediment by a process of weathering. Okay, so again, weathering is that breakdown of rock, and that's caused by wind, rain, plant, and animal activity. Okay, this is breaking it down into smaller and smaller pieces. After that sediment is formed, it's going to be moved to new places through erosion. Erosion is moving. Okay, think of it has the word, kind of has the word road, erosion. Okay, we're traveling down the road of erosion. And then when it's laid down into a new place, that's called deposition. So the reason why it's called deposition is because it's deposited, all right? deposition, deposit. To deposit means to put down or put into, okay? So this is being put into a new place. After the sediment is moved, you can see in number 3, they're going to be squeezed together through compaction and cementation. So compaction, again, is when those layers are squeezed together so that they're nice and flat, and then cemented together by the minerals crystallizing, all right? So they're going to be put together. It's kind of like laying down a thing of brick, and then all of a sudden you put the cement in and it's going to cement it together. Those minerals cement it together. And after all of these steps, you get your new sedimentary rock. Here's our next one. So this is the rock cycle. Okay, so the first thing, let's just start off with our sedimentary rocks. When sedimentary rocks experience weathering and erosion, they're going to turn into sediment. Okay? However, when sediment experiences compaction and cementation, it turns into a sedimentary rock. When sedimentary rocks experience heat and pressure, they get turned into metamorphic rocks. And when metamorphic rocks are melted, they don't immediately turn into igneous rocks. They're going to turn into magma, which then cools, which forms a type of igneous rock. Now remember, 2 types of igneous rock. If that magma cools under the surface, you have an intrusive igneous rock. If it cools on the surface, it is an extrusive igneous rock. Now, igneous rocks can also be melted down, okay? And when these igneous rocks are melted down, they're going to melt into magma. If they cool, they turn back into igneous rocks. However, an igneous rock, let's say that we have granite, and granite then is experiencing a lot of heat and pressure. Let me get my piece of granite. So let's pretend that this granite is experiencing a ton of heat and pressure. It's no longer going to be an igneous rock. It's going to morph into a metamorphic rock, okay? However, this same igneous rock, if it's pushed up to the surface and it experiences that weathering and erosion, then it's going to turn into sediment, which then can turn into our sedimentary rock. So this is where that cycle is. It's just going to continue to go round and round and round and round. All right, new rocks are formed, old rocks are taken and created, creating something new. Finally, if we have our metamorphic rock, all right, well, let's see, I've got it. So here's my metamorphic rock, okay? And that metamorphic rock is broken down, all right? And it is broken down into sediment. It can compact and turn into a sedimentary rock, okay? So remember, these processes are just a cycle. It's just what everything is going through. You learn about the water cycle in, I think, 3rd grade, but it's the same thing. The water just keeps getting reused. These rocks are getting reused every single time. Okay. All right. So make sure you have all of those. If you need to, look at the PowerPoint that I've linked below, and make sure that you understand this rock cycle. Have a great day, guys.